Jigsaw. Jigsaw is John Kramer, a terminal cancer patient turned moral philosopher and architect of the world's worst escape rooms. Here's the thing about Jigsaw. He's not just smart. He's the kind of smart that metastasizes. A civil engineer who goes from building blueprints to God-complex saw schematics like it's a side hustle. And while everyone else is playing checkers, John is playing quantum chess on a board made of trauma, guilt, and dismembered limbs. He doesn't kill anyone, remember? They kill themselves. At least that's the legal argument his withered corpse of a conscience would present. Every single trap is a TED Talk wrapped in razor wire. You don't just die, you get psychoanalyzed, metaphorically punished, and literally vivisected in front of a pig-masked puppet. That's efficiency. His traps aren't just physical, they're existential Rorschach tests. You were mean to your coworkers, so now your tongue is bolted to a chainsaw carousel operated by the ghost of your childhood shame. What is this man's problem? Probably everything. And yet somehow, he recruits followers, disciples, who carry out his work like he's Jesus with a bone saw. He plans ahead years, booby-trapped wills, cryptic cassette tapes and autopsied intestines, messages in reverse audio buried under layers of literal flesh. He dies and still has more to say than most living people. And don't get me started on the twist endings. They're not just plot twists, they're emotional betrayals. Jigsaw doesn't just outwit you, he humiliates your worldview, shreds it with surgical calm, and whispers, "Game over," like a disappointed dad who built a moral labyrinth out of your own secrets. John Kramer is not just smart, he's operatically, terminally, vindictively intelligent. And that intelligence is a guillotine. Quiet, sharp, and almost elegant. Right before it turns your redemption arc into an autopsy report. Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is a forensic psychiatrist, classical music aficionado, and part-time cannibal who eats rude people like gourmet tapas. Okay, deep breath. Hannibal Lecter isn't just terrifying. He's the Michelin-starred patron saint of intellectual evil. He reads you like a book, then folds that book into origami, dips it in Chianti, and serves it with your spleen on a platter lined with violins and ego. You don't meet Hannibal Lecter. You are dissected by Hannibal Lecter. In 5 words or less, he will dig into your psyche and excavate the exact wound you've spent decades repressing. Clarice Starling walks into a room and he sniffs her trauma like it's an imported vintage. And what does she get in return? Psychological obliteration wrapped in courtesy. His genius isn't loud, it doesn't scream. It murmurs, polite, educated, charming, the kind of charm that feels like a silk glove over a scalpel. He doesn't just think 10 steps ahead, he's bored 10 steps ahead. He's improvising in Greek while you're still stuttering in basic fear. Let's not forget, he escapes a maximum security prison using a dead man's face and a love for Baroque music. It's not just smart, that's practically performance art. He creates murder scenes with aesthetic balance. He treats corpses like canvases. This is the killer equivalent of Banksy crossed with Julia Child and Satan. And yet, the most disturbing part isn't the murder, it's how right he feels when he speaks. He shouldn't make sense, but he does. And that's the psychological horror of it. The cannibal knows you better than your therapist, and somehow some sick part of you is flattered. He's the only villain who can humiliate you into trauma without even standing up. He'll smile, say something devastatingly insightful about your father, and you'll thank him while reevaluating every life choice you've ever made. And then he'll eat your pancreas with fava beans and a nice Chianti. Esther. Esther is a 33-year-old woman posing as a 9-year-old orphan girl with a body count and a Victorian choker full of secrets. You ever get that creeping feral sensation when something looks almost right, but just isn't? That's Esther. She's uncanny valley in pigtails. She weaponizes innocence like a scalpel, carving her way through families by smiling just enough and blinking too slowly. It's not charm, it's predatory mimicry. She doesn't have red flags. She is the red flag, wearing a pinafore and feigning baby talk like she didn't already kill your mom and set your house on fire. Let's be clear. This isn't your usual evil child trope. Esther is playing 5D psychological warfare. She infiltrates nuclear families like a sleeper agent from Hell's Daycare. One minute she's drawing crayon houses, and the next she's seducing the dad, manipulating the therapist, and burying the family goldfish in a grave of misdirection. And the way she studies people, she doesn't interact, she analyzes, calculates. It's It's not playtime. It's reconnaissance. She understands adult insecurity, exploits marital tension, and dismantles trust like she's untangling a necklace, slowly, delicately, and with a disturbing kind of care. The reveal isn't just shocking, it's violently reframing. Your brain fractures trying to process it, because it means every creepy, off moment was actually part of a 30-year-old con artist's plan to gut punch your sense of safety and make you fear adoption agencies forever. She's the living embodiment of the phrase, "What the hell is wrong with her?" And the answer is everything. Psychopathy, identity fraud, homicide, manipulation, all shrink-wrapped in the uncanny body of a child actress, pulling off a performance so disturbing it feels like your TV is gaslighting. Esther isn't a killer. She's a virus. She doesn't enter your home with a weapon. She becomes the weapon, infecting relationships until everyone's dead, missing, or crying in the driveway. Oh, and the ribbon on her neck? It's hiding a surgical scar, because even her aesthetic is a lie. Every stitch, every smile, every sketch of a bloody house is a masterclass in deception. Esther doesn't fool you. She rewires you. The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man is Adrian Griffin, a tech genius who fakes his death, turns himself invisible, and proceeds to gaslight his ex so hard it becomes quantum. Adrian doesn't just haunt Cecilia. He professionally, surgically erases her sanity in real time while wearing a lab-made cloaking suit that looks like a love child between a GoPro and Lucifer's bathroom. And the worst part? No one believes you, because he planned it that well. You want intelligence? Try faking your death so convincingly that your friends, family, and legal system buy it, while you skulk around in an optic camouflage, wet dream, pulling the strings of everyone's nervous breakdown from the shadows. This man treats stalking like an art. He doesn't make noise, he moves air, he weaponizes silence like it's an orchestral instrument. Objects shift when no one's looking, phones vanish, showers turn on, and every moment, you're not even sure it's happening. It's the kind of abuse so advanced it passes the Turing test. And when you do realize it's real, it's already too late. He's been living in your walls, whispering into your life like a ghost with a grudge and a genius IQ. You think you can outmaneuver him? Good luck. He's 10 chess moves ahead, and you're just realizing there is a board. He doesn't kill to destroy. He kills to frame, to manipulate, to control. He engineers entire emotional realities like he's God with a spreadsheet. Every scream from Cecilia is one more piece of the puzzle he's already finished building, and he's just watching it click together while sipping invisible wine and smirking. This isn't just stalking, it's invisible tyranny. And he's not doing it out of rage or bloodlust. He's doing it because he can. Because that power, that absolute control over perception itself, makes him feel more alive than any relationship ever could. Adrian Griffin is what happens when tech billionaires stop building rockets and start building living nightmares. You don't see him. You just feel him, watching, waiting, planning, like a god made of algorithms and malice. Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman is a Manhattan investment banker with a skincare routine, a business card fetish, and a murder addiction that may or may not be real. You know that voice inside your head that whispers horrible things you never say out loud? Patrick is that voice, but wearing Armani and narrating his life like a mixtape from the abyss. He is what capitalism breeds when it loses its soul and starts eating its young. Or stabbing them with a chainsaw in an apartment no one cares enough to inspect. What makes Patrick terrifying isn't his intelligence in the he built a death trap way. It's the way he dismantles reality through the lens of sociopathic genius. He exists in a plane of complete detachment, emotionally, morally, physically. He'll deliver a monologue about Huey Lewis and the news while axes are flying and blood hits the ceiling like Jackson Pollock was having a mental breakdown. He plays dumb in the office and deadly in private. But don't let the vacant smile fool you. Bateman knows the rules of the world he lives in. He just doesn't care. Or more precisely, he's bored of caring. It's that cold-blooded Wall Street, Ayn Randian hyper-awareness of image, status, and annihilation, and he thrives in it. Like a virus in a petri dish of cocaine and misogyny. This man kills for control, for performance, for boredom. But the way he narrates it, like it's all part of a yuppie wellness routine. Exfoliate, murder a coworker, return some videotapes. His whole existence is curated to the point of unreality, and you, the viewer, start to spiral. Is he actually killing people? Or is he so emotionally desolate, he imagines murder as a form of self-expression? Bateman is a walking paradox, intensely self-aware and yet possibly imaginary. He's an unreliable narrator in a world where nothing needs to be reliable because everyone else is just as fake. His genius isn't in strategy, it's in identity collapse. He weaponizes not knowing who he is, and by the time you realize he might be nothing at all, he's already melted your sense of truth into abstract horror. He's not a man, he's a mask made of masks, wearing a tie, holding an axe, explaining Genesis lyrics while disassociating into corporate hell. Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is a child-murdering dream demon who kills you while you sleep and laughs about it like a drunk stand-up comic in purgatory. You know what takes real intelligence? Hacking dreams. Not computers, not doors, your unconscious mind. Freddy doesn't knock on your door. He waits until you're vulnerable, curled up in bed, clinging to a stuffed animal and whatever remains of your circadian rhythm. Then he enters, like a parasite with punchlines. And he's not just some shambling ghost with claws. No, Freddy is a theatrical sadist. He custom builds your nightmares like a Pixar villain with a torture engine. Afraid of drowning, he floods your bed. Claustrophobic, welcome to coffin limbo. Got parental trauma? He is the trauma now. His genius is in personalization. The man is Google AdSense for agony. But here's the kicker. He's not even alive. He's been burned, banished, and buried in every imaginable way, but like some unholy pop culture phoenix, he returns every time a teenager blinks too long. Death means nothing to him. He's post-death. He's ascended into a meta-tier horror entity who not only kills you, he mocks you while doing it. And his jokes, they're terrible, but they hurt because they're true. He weaponizes irony like it's napalm. You think you're safe with your friends? Boom, they're melting into cockroaches. You finally get some rest? Guess what? Dream inside a dream, sucker. Freddy doesn't just kill, he unravels. Your sanity, your identity, your hope, all with a wink and a one-liner that sounds like it came from the devil's open mic night. And the psychological damage? Irreparable. The fear of sleep, something so fundamentally human, becomes a death sentence. He turns rest into punishment. And in doing so, he colonizes your most sacred private place, your dreams. You can't not dream. You can only delay it. And Freddy is waiting. He's the boogeyman that laughs back, the sleep paralysis demon who brought props. Freddy isn't just smart, he's evolutionary horror, a being who figured out how to transcend death, mock humanity, and still find time for a fedora and a sick burn. Pazuzu. Pazuzu is an ancient Mesopotamian demon of famine and plague who moonlights as a possession artist in The Exorcist, turning sweet girls into obscenity-spewing war zones. Look, we've got killers who stab, slash, and strangle, but Pazuzu colonizes. He doesn't kill you with a knife. He takes your body like it's an Airbnb, breaks all the furniture, screams obscenities at your family, projectile vomits across the walls, and dares you to make him leave. And the worst part, you invited him. Through a statue, through arrogance, through the gaping spiritual wounds of the modern world. This isn't just a haunting, it's a theological chess match. Pazuzu operates on a level of psychological, spiritual, and physical domination that would make Machiavelli need a drink. He doesn't want to just break your body, he wants to crush your faith, your mind, your very understanding of good and evil. He weaponizes guilt. He feasts on weakness. Every word from that little girl's mouth is engineered to snap the nerves of the priest trying to save her. Your mother's in here, she growls, and the room drops 10 degrees because he knows everything. Your secrets, your shame, your pressure points. He doesn't guess. He taunts with precision. And while you're screaming about holy water, Pazuzu is already 3 moves ahead, using the rituals against you, twisting your own doctrine like barbed wire. He wants the battle to last, not because he's afraid of losing, but because he enjoys the fight. He is boredom's antithesis. He is sadism in omniscient form. And the moment you show fear, it's over. You're not battling a ghost. You're playing theological Russian roulette with a creature older than the concept of guilt. And let's not forget the aftermath. Regan doesn't just go back to school like it was all a weird flu. She's a crime scene. Everyone involved ends up broken, begat, banished, or buried. Pazuzu doesn't need a body count to prove his genius, just a single possession that turns a family into a crater. He's not a slasher. He's not a monster. He's an ideology. An ancient whisper that says, nothing is sacred, and proves it by tearing the divine into ribbons, one desecrated bedroom at a time. Midsommar's Danny Ardor. Danny Ardor is a grieving woman who survives gaslighting, death, psychedelic horror rituals, and emotional implosion to become the May Queen of an ancient Scandinavian death cult. And maybe the smartest one of them all. Oh, you thought this list was all mask-wearing, knife-happy murder goblins? No. Sometimes the genius is quiet, subtle, drenched in tears and flower crowns. Dani doesn't need to kill anyone. She just needs to feel everything so completely that it breaks the world around her and rebuilds it in her image. She walks into Midsummer as a trauma sinkhole, crushed by family tragedy, trapped in a relationship with the most sentient red flag on Earth, High Christian, and drowning in so much internal collapse she can barely breathe. And yet, she sees, slowly, through the grief, through the drugs, through the ritual murders disguised as dances and empathy. She doesn't run, she listens. The cult doesn't just manipulate Dani, she bends with them, merges, mutates, learns the language of codependence, and uses it like social jujitsu. By the end, when she makes the choice, you know that she's not just surviving, she's transcending. All that pain, all that loss, she sacrifices it. It bears fruit. And the genius of it, it feels earned. Dani doesn't snap, she awakens. The final smile, wide, weeping, ecstatic, is one of the most disturbing emotional turnarounds in horror history. It's the smile of someone who's finally been seen. It's terrifying, not because she's possessed, but because she's not. She's lucid, present, and utterly, absolutely done. There's a reason no one stops her, no one can. She holds the narrative reins like a broken saint, crowned in petals and revenge. And she makes you question everything. Who's the real monster here? The ones who killed, or the one who chose to let it happen? Dani doesn't slaughter her enemies. She allows their erasure with the calm of a pagan priestess reborn in the ashes of codependence. That's not just survival. That's metamorphosis. And that takes a kind of intelligence no killer with a knife could ever touch.